All right, today we're jumping headfirst into some really mind-bending ideas from Robert Anton Wilson's book, Quantum Psychology. And believe me, it's a wild ride. It's going to challenge pretty much everything you think you know about how you see the world. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Okay, so to kick things off, let's do a little exercise. Take a really good look at this picture. What's the very first thing that pops out at you? Do you see an old woman, kind of looking down to the left with a big nose? Or do you see a young lady wearing a choker, looking away from you over her shoulder? Now that you know both are there, you can probably switch back and forth between them. You see the old woman, then the young lady, but notice something really important. You can't see both of them at the exact same instant. It's impossible. Your brain is forced to pick one. So why is that? That one simple question right there is the key to this whole explainer. And that question, while it leads us straight into our first big idea here, which is this: perception is basically a gamble. The whole reason you can only see one of those images at a time is because your brain, it's not like a camera, It's not just passively recording what's out there. No, it's an active participant in the game. It's constantly taking in raw data from your eyes, and then it immediately, and I mean immediately, places a bet on what it thinks it's looking at. It makes an interpretation. And this gets right to the heart of what's sometimes called transactional psychology. As Robert Anton Wilson puts it, we don't just passively receive signals from the world, we have, in his words, creative transactions with them. We're not just viewers of the movie, we're actually co-creators of the world we perceive. Okay, so if our brain is constantly interpreting, always making these little bets, this leads us to Wilson's most famous idea, his central metaphor for what this whole process creates. And he calls it your personal reality tunnel. So what exactly is a reality tunnel? Think of it as the unique, private universe that each one of us lives inside. It's constructed by your brain's software. And that software is made up of your beliefs, your past experiences, the language you use, all of it. This software acts like a filter, and it's always running, constantly organizing and, sometimes distorting all the raw data coming at you from the world. Just like Wilson says, you create your own model of reality. And this is a huge point. It means that even though we all might be walking around in the same external world, we each experience it through a completely unique, personalized filter. No two people on Earth have the exact same reality tunnel, not even close. Okay, I get it. This can all sound a little abstract, a little philosophical. So how do these reality tunnels actually work in a real-life situation? Well, there's a simple parable in the book that makes this crystal clear. So here's the setup. You've got a farmer, and he loses his purse, can't find it anywhere. And he starts thinking, and he decides, you know what? It must have been the neighbor's son. He was over here earlier, he must have taken it. So what happens next is a textbook case of a reality tunnel at work. The farmer's assumption, this kid is a thief, that becomes the new software running in his brain. So now when he observes the boy, suddenly the way he walks looks furtive. The look on his face seems guilty. Every single thing the boy does confirms the farmer's conclusion. It feels totally certain. And then, the twist. The farmer's wife finds the purse tucked away somewhere safe. In that instant, the farmer's reality tunnel completely shatters, and when he looks at the boy again, his walk just looks normal. His expression just looks shy. Nothing about the boy actually changed. The only thing that changed was the farmer's internal software. So that parable really shows how our beliefs can literally program what we see. But where does that rigidity come from? Where did these beliefs get all their power? Well, Wilson argues that a huge part of the problem is baked right into our language. It's something he calls the tyranny of is. Just take a look at these two statements from quantum physics. Statement 1, the photon is a wave. Statement 2, the photon is a particle. Now here's the truly weird part. Depending on how scientists set up their experiment, they can prove that either one of these statements is true. But how can something be two totally different things at the same time? It can't. The problem is the word is. It creates a paradox because it implies this fixed, absolute, unchanging identity. Okay, so if the verb to be, is, am, are, was, were, if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, Wilson proposes this really fascinating mental tool. It's like a piece of debugging software for your own language.
It's called E prime. That's for English prime. And the rule is incredibly simple. You just try to speak and write without using any form of the verb to be at all.
And you can see just how dramatically this changes things. Look at this. The photon is a wave becomes the photon behaves as a wave under these conditions. See? The paradox just disappears. Or instead of John is unhappy, you say, John appears unhappy in the office. That adds context, and it admits that, hey, you don't actually know what's going on inside his head. And then there's the heavy stuff. Instead of saying, that is a fascist idea, which is a total absolute judgment, you'd say, that seems like a fascist idea to me. It completely shifts the frame from a universal truth to a personal observation.
So, you see, E prime isn't just some quirky little grammar game. It's a powerful tool for intellectual honesty. It forces you to acknowledge your own role as the observer in the equation. It makes you admit the limits of your own reality tunnel. You literally stop making grand pronouncements about how the world is, and you start talking more accurately about how the world appears to you. So what's the whole point of this? What are we getting at? It's all about one thing, really. Consciously upgrading your own brain's software. And why does this matter? Well, according to Wilson, when you start becoming aware of your own reality tunnel and the language habits that build it, the benefits are huge. It helps reduce that dogmatic, absolute certainty that so often leads to hostility and arguments. It makes you a little more intellectually humble, a lot more open to learning new things, and maybe most importantly, it fosters a much greater sense of empathy for other people because you start to realize they're just living in their reality tunnel. And let's be really clear about something. This whole framework isn't about denying that there's a real external world out there. Of course there is. The point is that we never, ever experience that world directly. We only ever experience our model of it, our map of it. And that idea, when you really get it, is incredibly empowering because it means we can start to take responsibility for the kinds of models we're building in our own heads. So we'll leave you with one final question to chew on. If your reality, the one you experience every single day, is really just a story that your brain's software is writing, a story based on the data it decides to let in and how it decides to interpret it, then what story are you going to choose to write next?